Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of 10 for the Chairman. For those of you who don't know, this is where I take 10 questions from the subscribers and answer them to the best of my ability. The subscribers are the subset of the community that have most generously contribute money every month to allow us to do a higher degree of community feedback and content. This show, Wingman's Hangar, and the new shows that we've got keyed up in the pipeline. As well as the jump point and some other kind of cool stuff that we get to do. So thank you very much to subscribers for helping us be able to do this without taking away from development dollars, basically. And obviously thank you to everyone out there that's backed the game, because I wouldn't be sitting here at all without that. So let me get to the questions right away. The first one comes from Forvel, who asks, we have known for a while that hull breaches will be in the game. Will we be able to use large hull breaches as EVA entry points when boarding? If so, will multi-crew ships be limited to one or two predetermined hull breach areas, or will we be able to create entry points roughly where we fire our weapons? Generally, the hull breach is going to be limited to areas, so like an airlock or a hangar door or something. It's not practical for us to allow you to rip a hole anywhere inside of a ship and then breach there, mainly because then we would have to, we already do an insane amount of work and detail on the ships already, but we don't, build the inside of every single wall and every single place. And if we allowed you to basically breach anywhere, you would have to be able to do that. So for us, we're kind of sort of having some predetermined ones that you can breach, and when you're trying to breach, they'll be highlighted on your HUD. Or on the ship that you're trying to dock with, and go from there. It'd be cool to breach everywhere, but we're not quite there yet. And I think you can all appreciate the amount of effort and work and detail that goes into the ship. So doing that would be another nth degree of difficulty. Okay, next question comes from Atsu, who asks, how will stars work? When flying around a solar system and you get close to a star, do you need to increase power to the shields to mitigate the radiation and the heat? And will there be solar flares where suddenly the radiation levels spike and you need to adjust shields accordingly? Or will they just be sitting there without any special mechanics? Well, I think in general that the stars inside of the various systems will be really kind of in the center. You probably won't be able to get too close to them. We'll probably have some effect. We'll probably have some deal if you decide to, you won't be able to autopilot them, but if you decide to stubbornly point your nose towards them and keep flying, at some point we'll just start to deliver heat and then damage to your ship, and eventually you'll kind of fry up, which is what you would do if you were going into a star. But I don't think we'll be doing the thing where you're out in the distance of the solar system and there's a flare and you have to put up shields or whatever. Although it's a pretty cool idea. So I just think we'll just sort of make a star or stars be sort of areas that you don't really want to get too close to. Okay, next question comes from Silent Ruin, who asks, what kind of tools will we have to reduce the purchase risk of various items? For instance, I want a tool that lets me enter in specs for suit, ship, engines position in a ship and have it spit out the percentage for all the person at that position and the ship will black out. This will help me buy the suit, ship, engine that best suits my flying and purposes without having to randomly experiment by buying everything. Yeah, I'm not sure we're going to have sort of a tool that will do that. I think you're going to know when you're purchasing some of this stuff, it will be sort of set okay, well, this is a spacesuit for extreme maneuvering and it's got a higher G tolerance, or these are bigger thrusters, so upside is you can turn faster, downside is you can black out much quicker. And that would sort of all be contained in sort of their description and their fiction, but I don't think we're going to have anything that will specifically say, okay, well, at this percentage, you can have your throttle at this percentage and you won't block out at this percentage, it will. I'm assuming that what will happen is the community itself will sort of break all that down, because that's usually what happens. So it's not really a tool for you, other than the community being your resource and just the way we describe the items. So there you go. Okay, next question comes from Gerlanin, who asks, I was wondering about the banking system in the persistent universe. You said before that people will be able to take out loans to buy their first ship, but how will this be paid back? If you miss a payment, do you get a bad credit score or bounty hunters sent after you? I think that what would probably happen is if you had a loan on a ship, that you would have to pay some back, and maybe there would be some level of auto deducting. So in the same way that if you have a debt to someone, it can be auto garnished from your wages. I think if you had a loan out to the ship, the deal would be, okay, you can have this ship for this amount of money on the loan, and we're going to take 50% of all your commissions on all your missions until we've got our money back plus some. Would be kind of the way I would think it is. So I'm not sure in that particular case, if you miss a payment, it would really cause you to like have a bad credit score or bounty hunters. So I don't know. It's I think the mechanic would be you would have to sort of pay the loan back from the work that you're doing, and then at some point, if you're not doing the work, then you kind of at that point, well, you just can't really fly your ship around, because don't forget you're going to have to earn money to be able to pay for landing fees and all that, fuel, all that kind of stuff. So I think that system will work, but we haven't fully 100% figured that out. I mean, there is something nice about the idea of a bunch of people coming after you if you haven't paid your loan back, but that may be a bit tough and would defeat the purpose, because you would be basically blowing up the ship that they loaned you money for. Anyway, so that part of it will probably still be decided. Okay, next question comes from Brutal Nuke, who asks, will our cyborg limbs be repairable? Would they be damaged during a fight or anything else? And if so, what will we have to do to fix them? Yes, I think the limbs will be repairable, and they definitely can get damaged during like a fight, especially a first-person fight. And what we have to do to fix them is you would have to sort of take them to sort of a cybernetic repair facility. So there'll be some of those that will be on planets. Potentially there could be equipment for that in a bigger med bay on a bigger capital ship. But it would be sort of like the mechanical version of what you have to do for your arm or limb if it wasn't mechanical, and we have the same sort of mechanics. Like doctors, you can go visit on planets, or maybe there's a med bay on a big ship. Okay, number 6 comes from Seuss Machina X, who asks, so we know there will be some kind of organic questing system for the UEE worlds and systems. My question is, will there be something similar for pirates, smugglers, or anyone else living outside of UEE lore and questing for other reasons than to balance the system's resources? Or will it end up being completely freeform and we have to choose targets ourselves in a less structured way? I think even in the pirate smuggler aspect, we model in the economy and the universe not just the sort of legitimate UEE stuff, but also the illegitimate, what the pirates are doing, what the smugglers are doing. And so there will definitely be missions available generated by that system that players can take. Oh, I need you to smuggle narcotics from this planet over here into Terra or whatever. And so you'll be able to sort of, if you want to think of it, the same questing system or whatever will exist, but just for the flip side for pirates and smugglers and everything else, as well as players themselves doing their own sort of ad hoc stuff they think would work. So I guess the question would be yes. The answer would be yes. Okay, next question comes from Jack Sparrow Kerman, who asks, what non-Chris Roberts games have influenced Star Citizen's concept, ships, mechanics, and etc.? I think I've talked a lot about how I really like Demon's Souls. I rarely play a game for that much time, and it sort of reminded me of like the value of having something that you can lose, something that you can risk in a gameplay, rather than the modern day sort of typical first-person shooter or adventure game. It basically, you could just bully your way through. There's no penalty if you die, you respawn a second before, and that wasn't the case with Demon's Souls. And I sort of really, that made it, when I achieved something, much more satisfactory. I mean, it was kind of frustrating and it was difficult at times, definitely, but the sense of accomplishment I got with Demon's Souls that I haven't really felt with a modern game. I think that may be one of the reasons why a lot of people have shifted to multiplayer versus single player, because single player in Call of Duty or even Battlefield's not really, okay, it looks pretty, but do you really feel like you've accomplished something? Whereas in multiplayer, if you're fighting against someone, you take a bunch of people out, you do feel like you've accomplished something. So I think maybe the dumbing down of sort of games over the last 10 years has also led to the rise of why multiplayer has become more popular. But so I like games that are tough. So obviously Demon's Souls. I definitely like like I'm a Battlefield person over a Call of Duty person, mainly because I like to fight with a few of my friends, and that sort of cooperative combat together against other players was something I really like from Battlefield. And obviously there is aspects of that that's going to be in Star Citizen. Use of combined arms is in Battlefield, which is cool, but on a more limited basis compared to what we're doing. But again, it's cool. So I would say, like of these kind of like sort of non-My Past games or sort of general games out there, I would say like the three big ones that sort of I kind of liked, more recent, well, let's say four. So, Demon Souls, StarCraft 2, love the balancing. Obviously love the original StarCraft, but the sort of rock, paper, scissors, sort of dealing with your resources all the time. And I want a little bit of that in Star Citizen. Battlefield, really, fidelity's fantastic. The fact that you fight with your buddies, do sort of cooperatively against other people is great. Combined arms is great from there. And then probably taking a look at sort of the Naughty Dog stuff, the Uncharted stuff, and most recently The Last of Us, is just in terms of like fidelity and attention to detail in terms of the characters and the world they're creating. It was really great. So those would all be games that I would say would be things that I was impressed by. Enjoyed playing, fairly influenced in the sort of nearby past. So hopefully that answers that question for you. Savan asks, can a player organization be classed as a terrorist organization by UEE, so its members are attacked on site in UEE space? Yeah, well, it's definitely possible to have an organization if an organization starts to engage in overall negative or sort of antisocial or anti-UEE behavior. At some point it will start to become a sort of terrorist organization, and therefore UEE ships, naval advocacy, whatever, would attack them, and there'd probably be a bounty in UEE space. So you'll just have to be careful about how you run your organization. Harlot asks, could you maybe shed some light on what you have planned for our solar system in a persistent universe? How many planets, dwarf planets, moons, asteroid belts can we expect to see? Ballpark. Now, I wonder if this question means our solar system as in the solar system we're in right now with Earth and the Sun. But in the case of our solar system, we're going to pretty much model it the way it is. So with all the planets, I guess there's some debate over whether Pluto is really a planet or not, but we'll model it as it is, maybe not to exact scale, but to a pretty large scale that would kind of feel like something that feels big for planets and all the rest of the stuff. And then it's kind of hard to say on the other, we have all sorts of systems with multiple stars, loads of planets, loads of asteroids, but generally we would try to make the systems pretty rough, pretty interesting with a lot of variety. So I can't really give you a number, but it'll be a lot. All right, last question comes from Thomas Cromwell, who asks, I would like to know how you plan to implement MPC communication, such as a system in Mass Effect or Dragon Age, or will you try to implement a system like SOCOM or End War where the menu system is voice controlled? So in space, it will mostly be sort of like a Wing Commander, Star Citizen, Wing Commander, Privateer, Freelancer style, which you sort of have options when you hail a ship. You'll be able to say, okay, well, attack my target or stay on my wing and that kind of stuff. And then on the planet side stuff, we have a conversation system that involves how you like engage and interact with people, whether you look at them in the eyes, and sort of generally handles your kind of attitude around them, and then the game sort of takes its keys from there. So it won't be something like you saw in Mass Effect where you had a Dragon Age, where you had a big wheel of different things you could ask them. It's more about how you sort of manage things, and you sort of have choices where you can direct it. I wonder if I should ask him if he's got any work for me, or let's just chit chat with him. And those would be two sort of like inner thoughts your character would have, and you would pick between them, and that would determine the direction you would take it. So, I guess that's a little in the line of what we did in the Wing Commander stuff with, obviously, especially with Wing Commander 3 and 4. But the big thing is that we're doing a lot more about the action and the body language. Like, so where you're looking, what you're doing, what your actions are also being taken into account in terms of how you're communicating with the NPCs when you're planet side, for a more realistic or hopefully a more realistic feeling. I mean, generally when you engage people, you'll look them in the eye, and if you sort of look away from them and start paying attention while they're talking to you, they'll get offended. And so we're sort of trying to build and model all that stuff in our conversation system. I think it's going to be pretty cool. So I would say that's kind of what we're doing. I mean, I don't know, this question could potentially be saying, well, do you want to have voice recognition or not voice, or just menus? So I would say, our kind of input mechanism is going to be sort of like either a combination of menus or actions that you do. So like if I go up and I look at someone in the eyes, that means I want to talk to you. Or if someone's looking me in the eyes and I ignore them and carry on walking on, that means I'm not going to pay attention to you. So we're sort of going to drive a lot of the MPC interaction via your actual actions, which I think is pretty good. I mean, that's the kind of, if you notice in real life, that's kind of what happens. And action always speaks louder than a bunch of words. Okay, so that's the end of this episode of 10 for the Chairman. Thank you all for listening. Thank you to all the subscribers for helping fund us doing this and all the other great community content we do. And thank you very much to the backers out there who have generously allowed us to be making this game that we're having the time of our lives on, building it at a level that we never dreamed possible this early on. So thank you. We're going to build a great game. Hopefully you're having a lot of fun with the dogfight module, Arena Commander, and seeing the progress that it's happening. And obviously that's going to be ongoing. But anyway, I'm looking for this. Ride's so far been amazing, and it's going to get even better. So I'll talk to you next week. Bye.